Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Uncommons podcast. First off, before we start, I just want to thank everybody for all the support that you've given me over the past week, I think, since the last episode was posted. I enjoyed hearing you guys' feedback and all of the nice, kind words that you guys all had to say. I'm super excited for this second episode. Today I have Josh Villarin with me. We kind of grew up together. He's a childhood friend, and I just wanted to have him on this episode. A little backstory to the Uncommons podcast. It was kind of formed. We had like a little get together once, grabbed coffee, and we were just talking about life and what we want to do in the future and where we see ourselves and stuff. And we had like a 4-hour conversation or something.
Yeah, that was a really long time.
Yeah, we were like talking for 4 hours about like everything. Yeah, like life and stuff. And this podcast was kind of birthed from that conversation. Yeah. So
you can thank me.
So this is actually Josh's podcast.
It was my idea.
Yeah, no. But it was really cool to kind of talk stuff out with you and figure out that this was actually going to be an interest of mine and talking to people. So that's why I wanted to have you on. And also, I know you're interested in a lot of things, and you're an interesting person to talk to. So, so let's get into it. So the first question I kind of wanted to ask you is, I know that you have like a lot of interests and stuff, and you've kind of like dabbled in a lot of things in your life. So if you met somebody for the first time and you had to describe yourself, if you had to describe yourself, like your passions, your interests, your personality, and maybe like, doesn't have to be one sentence, but kind of like sum up the Josh package, what would you like tell people?
That's a pretty good question. That's a lot.
It's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
If I'm meeting someone for the first time.
Yeah, like if you're meeting someone for the first time and they're like, hey, like I'm blah, blah, blah.
It's kind of like, it's so typical to be like, oh yeah, I'm into music, I'm into fashion, I'm whatever. But I am. I think I'd probably start off by leading like, I'm pretty reserved in who I am, but with the people that I'm close to that, I can really go full out. So I'm definitely more of an introvert, and because of that, growing up as an introvert, I was really into myself, into the arts, right? So things like music, actual art, writing. I was an English major as well. Drawing, literally all those things with everything has to do with art. So, I mean, growing up, when you're reserved and you want to keep to yourself, that's really what you do, right? I wasn't going out playing sports. I didn't play any sports at all through elementary to high school, actually. I mean, I played like one season of like jjaevii basketball, if you remember, with the church, but that was like nothing. I don't think that counted. So that's pretty much myself. Like even, getting out of high school, going to college, I kept to the same. I started going to the gym, which is a little bit different, but I mean, it was still a thing where it wasn't a group environment. It's like I could work on myself, right? I wasn't working with a team. So, I mean, that's kind of where I come from. That's why I'm really into things that have to do with the individual, right? Things like fashion, things like, even doing music for myself, things like writing. Those are all very individualistic passions that I have.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big group-centric, focused type of person. I mean, I've learned to be.
Yeah.
Like over the years, even just very recently, actually, I've learned to be.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, even, which is weird because, during the pandemic, a lot of people kept to themselves, but I feel like I even grew closer with you and like a lot of other people through the pandemic because maybe like, nothing else. Yeah, exactly.
Like all time long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually funny that you say that you're like a very individualistic person, and I definitely have like known you to be that, like as we grew up and stuff. But it's funny again that you say that you're an individualistic person, because I've also known you to be like in a lot of leadership positions throughout your life.
Which is annoying, dude. Not by choice
and stuff like that. But then also like there's other people that you have like been involved with in like a lot of like teamwork and stuff like that, and you do. I feel like you do kind of excel in that stuff.
Yeah, but not by choice.
Yeah,
I don't ever willingly like go out to lead. It just kind of happens that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. And another thing that I also wanted to bring up too is like, I wanted to ask you like, because that was something that I saw that was a switch in your life that like when we were younger, you were definitely like more of a homebody and more of like an introverted person.
For sure,
like you would never go out and stuff like that. But like definitely as of late, and I don't want to say as of late, as it feels like super recent, but like fairly recent. Like you've definitely been more outgoing and more like, you know, hanging out with people.
Yeah.
So I was wondering like what triggered that switch, or is there something that like kind of led you to become more of like a social person now?
I mean, so in college, I can definitely pinpoint it back to college. I think my sophomore or junior year, there was a point in time where my whole routine was go to class, go home. Literally, I wouldn't even hang out with anyone. I wouldn't talk to anyone from my classes or anything like that. Maybe one or two, I would. And then, I mean, I saw a lot of my friends around me that I knew beforehand from high school, acquaintances that I see on social media. They were hanging out. They're having like the college experience, right? And so I was like, man, am I missing out on something? Like, do I, you know, maybe I should do something about it. So there's one day, a mutual friend of ours, so we knew for a little bit, his name was Ben.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, I miss Ben.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, he invited me to VSA, which is the Vietnamese Student Association. There was a Filipino one. I joined, but I never wanted to be a part of it because they were all about like partying, going out, whatever, and that wasn't me yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really was that person even afterwards, but that just wasn't my scene. But when he invited me there, the first meeting I went to, they weren't the same. They were like more reserved. Not reserved. I mean, there were more people like me. Versus in PAC, the Filipino one, everyone was like a dancer. They went to parties. You know, they play sports and everything. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, these are kind of more people like in my lane at least. So he invited me. And then from there, you know, I really made a commitment like, I'm going to make some friends. Like I don't need to, but I feel like I should.
Please.
I feel like I should. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where we also met. I also met one of my really good friends, Irene, which you know too. And that's how we met like over 10 years ago, I think maybe by now. But that's really kind of where it stemmed from, where it started. And then from there, like it was a whole like snowball effect where I started going to the gym, working out more. It gave me more confidence too. Not confident in that I was going to go and talk to people, but like I was already comfortable with myself, but I think that made me more comfortable with myself. And then eventually, after college, I got a job as a personal trainer, right? Which is so far out of left field for me. One, I graduated with an English degree, right? But I mean, that became a passion, right, over years. But with that too, you have to talk to people. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, but you have to talk to people as a personal trainer. You have to talk to strangers, random people. So that's one thing they have you do. I worked at 24 Hour Fitness, and the way you get clients is by walking up to random people at gym, talking to them, trying to get them to a free workout, and then from there you'll see if you can get them to buy a personal training package. You could do that by walking around. You could wait at the front desk, talk to anyone. But it was really nothing that I've ever done before at all. And that one quote, you know, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's what I had to do. I had to take on like a different personality that wasn't myself necessarily.
Yeah.
But I eventually, like, I did it so many times. I talked to so many people. I learned to get rejected like hundreds of times, which, I mean, I think that really strengthened my mental fortitude.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, it didn't really like, oh no, you know what? I definitely was depressed at sometimes. Like, dang, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think about like, man, I'm not getting any clients right now at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any clients. There's other people, they're doing so well. But I mean, it was really cool because then from that, building up that resilience, I ended up becoming like one of the top reps there, the top personal trainers in the whole region out of like over 500 trainers within my first year.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that was because, you know, that fake it till you make it mentality, but also, you know, because I was never super extroverted, I think the way that I talk to people was a little bit different, where I'm very analytical, and like when I was trying to talk to people, I wasn't really, you know, just trying to talk only about like, oh, like trying to talk to you as a person and like get to know things that, you know, that in a regular conversation you would have. I would be more analytical and explain things scientifically, which maybe isn't always the best idea, but for a lot of people, they like that I wasn't just trying to be someone to, you know, trying to get the sale or whatever. I was really honest and genuine about what
it just sounded more like you're trying to actually help them out and reach their goals with them.
If that makes sense. But yeah, eventually from that's where I ended up becoming a lot more actually social from that, because I learned to be more comfortable talking around to people. And then just over the years, as I had a lot more time now on my hands. When I started working, I had a little bit more money, so I could go out and hang out with friends more.
Yeah.
And then now here we are today. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's hella cool. And it's funny when you talk about, about being like a little bit depressed when you had to like put yourself out there and stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people struggle with that when they, I don't want to say like, when they try to make friends, because I don't know. To me, it sounds like a little. I don't want to say sad, but it sounds a little bit like. I guess sad. Yeah, when you say like, I need to make friends. And
it's the whole comparison game too, because, the reason you feel sad is because you're looking at everyone else who's doing something different. Like for me at work, it was people who had clients, but if you're someone looking for friends, same thing. Like look at all these other people who are having fun experiences and have friends, right?
Yeah, and it's tough because. So that was in a sales position for you and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the stakes were a little bit higher because otherwise I wasn't going to get paid.
That's the stakes are definitely higher, and you need to kind of like switch your mentality a little bit to kind of almost like, I don't want to say play a game, but almost like play a game to make sure that you're able to close a sale and stuff. But if you kind of translate that into the more like of a social context of more just like making friends and just having conversation, it's very similar though, because some people do get depressed, or some people do get put off of trying to put themselves out there and make social connections because of that fear of rejection, and because of that kind of fear of like, I'm putting myself, who I am, out on the line for you to see me, and if we don't become friends, or if we don't click, then for a lot of people in their mind, it's kind of like, you didn't accept me for who I am and stuff like that. So
especially if you're someone who's already more introverted from the get-go,
definitely.
Even more so, because you only really know yourself so much, right? You don't. If you're extroverted, growing up extroverted, a lot of what you get is from outside, right? But I think when you're introverted, it hits even harder because that's all you have, right, to give in a show. And if you're getting rejected for it, it's depressing. It really is.
And especially if you're introverted, I feel like not that you don't have a lot of opportunities, but you don't give yourself a lot of opportunities to be okay with being rejected, or you don't give yourself a lot of opportunities to be okay with like, that difficult conversation. So the few times that you do kind of put yourself out there, it's like the weight of it is so much heavier.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Dude.
So the impact of like putting yourself out there, it's like, okay, building the courage of like, okay, I'm gonna talk to somebody, I'm actually gonna go out, I'm actually gonna have social connection. Then you go out and then it kind of like flops and you're like, this is why I don't go out.
You kind of whole cycle. That's funny. Like the first, I don't know how many times, like the first definitely like 5 months or so, like with Kiana, my girlfriend, or fiance now. Hello.
My girlfriend.
Sorry. Fiance. But she could tell you how many times like I would just like call her or text her like sad and depressed out because nothing was happening. I was like, dude, why am I here? I have an English degree. What am I doing?
Talking about your job.
It was my job now, But because she's someone who's extroverted, which is why it's very, very different. And her perspective is, it was hard for her to understand maybe how I felt as much, because she didn't also experience the same rejection. Her rejection is a little bit different. The way she feels rejection, right, compared to me, I think. Well, I won't talk about it. Maybe you'll have her on a podcast. She could tell you about it. But I think really, even it's weird because even though I was so comfortable with myself as an individual person, you never really, you're right. You don't get that experience of rejection as much unless you put yourself out there for it, which I'm glad I did. So now I'm still, I guess I consider myself an introvert in that I like keeping to myself more, but I'm very, very comfortable in now more social situations where I wouldn't have been before.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people's common definition of like introverted versus extroverted is like where you get your energy. Yeah. So a lot of people, and when you're introverted, they say you get your energy, you recharge by being by yourself, and then once you recharge, you've been by yourself, then you can go out and you can be out, while extroverted people like myself, like Kiana, you gain your energy by being around people, you feed off other people, and then
I think before growing up for me, and at least the people around me, it was more of a negative connotation where like, if you're an introvert, you're considered a nerd, you're shy, you're not socially adept, things like that. But now I'm kind of glad, as time has gone on, the definition has kind of evolved a bit more to be something not as demeaning.
Yeah.
So no, it's true. So even now I'm still very socially adept. I can do that, but I'd rather keep to myself more often than not. I think. Yeah.
So what would you say, like, when you were going through that whole getting a lot of clients, getting rejected, like talking to people, was there one thing that made you more okay to take rejection, like made you more okay to put yourself out there and less like, because like I said, a lot of people, you know, they take that hit of like getting rejected or having a difficult, awkward conversation and like, oh yeah, I can't do this. This is why I don't do this. And then they kind of stay away from that for a while. But do you think there was something that, I mean, other than the fact that you need to get paid, other than that, do you think that there's anything else that kind of like continue to push you and like, no, like I can do this, like it's not bad, like?
That's a good question. I think, I mean, beyond that fake it or make it mentality, I mean, that did a lot actually. The fake it or make it did wonders. Even I think you can apply this to, you know, actual life itself, but when I was in that job position, I was looking at videos actually on how to talk to people if you don't know how to talk to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they weren't even sales. Some of them were sales videos. A lot of them were not. They were just like
social conversation.
Yeah, social conversation, like, how to do that. And I think, honestly, beyond fake it till you make it, I don't know. Oh, actually I do. There has to be an end goal, right? Beyond, I'm just going to try it out. Because if you just want to try it out and then it fails the first couple of times, then that's easy to not try out anymore. But if you have an end goal, right, like really, what is your ultimate goal? For me, my goal was make money, get paid. I have a job. I need to work. I need to live, right? I have payments to do. I'm not exactly sure how, you might know better how that would apply in, you know, kind of social life. Because, again, I'm still someone who doesn't go out and make friends. Like, it kind of happens more naturally with me, but I don't ever go try to put myself out to make friends. Yeah. So I'm not sure how thinking of an end goal would apply in that sense. I don't know what you think.
It does. So for me, being a little bit more extroverted, taking away the context, because again, like your stakes were much higher of like, oh, if I don't talk to people, I'm not going to get paid.
Yeah, I'll get fired.
But for me, it wasn't so much of me like, oh, there is a goal for me, but I knew that if I didn't go out and talk to people, there wasn't an effect. Like there is a cause and effect of that. And for me being an extrovert, my effect of that is like, I'm gonna be lonely.
You know, that like, makes a lot of sense.
You know, like if I don't talk to people, like even if it is difficult, even if it is awkward, like I feed off of being around other people. And if I don't put myself out there and I don't talk to other people, then I'm not gonna be able to get that energy that I enjoy having from around other people. So let me put this into context for our specific friend group, right? Mm-hmm. So we grew up together. We grew up at the church together. We've known a lot of our friends from the church for a really, really long time. And we, as a giant friend group, have evolved throughout the years, right? Mm-hmm. There was a few summers ago that we would always go hang out and stuff like that and be out at the beach and hang out. Like this was when I think I was in the middle of my college thing, like maybe like sophomore-ish years or something. Something like that. I think it was a while back.
Even 20,
I want to say 2017. I don't know.
No, that sounds about right.
I think maybe 2017. Right. That's when I graduated high school. So around that time, we were always going out. We were always hanging out, and it was really easy to kind of like hit up people and be like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And then all of a sudden, the plots turn into like 15 people, and we're like at the beach and getting Korean barbecue. You know, but as we get older and as a lot of us like get into like our careers and find jobs and again, have the pressure of like, I need to make money and I can't, do all this stuff. It's been harder and harder. So since it's been harder to get people to come hang out, the rejection rate is a lot higher, right? So nowadays, you text people like, hey, what are you trying to do? It's like, oh, sorry, I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to sleep early. I can't. Or like, I have work today. Or I made, plans with blah, 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 this and that. So the rejection rate is a lot higher. But for a lot of people, it's like, a lot of people kind of hit this like, oh, I'm texting people, I'm trying to reach out, and nobody is trying to hang out, and it's like, what's the point? Like, there's no point of trying to hang out. There's no point. Like, it sucks for people to just keep saying no. But for me, not that I don't feel that, because there are definitely times where it's like, damn, I'm trying to hang out, and I'm trying to like get you guys up, and I want to hang out.
Especially for you when you're working, and then when you do have free time, you know, that's a lot harder.
Exactly, and that's kind of like. not the stakes are higher, but like the gravity of the situation is kind of heightened, where it's like I work a lot, and then on my days off it's like I want to hang out with people, I want to do things, and if I kind of have this expectation of like my social goals, I guess, like this is what I want to do, and if it doesn't hit that, then I'm like, damn, like that sucked. There was this time actually with my girlfriend where like when I was kind of like not early on, but like in the middle of my working, like I put a lot of pressure on like our weekends, like hey, we have to do something, we have to do something, and then I felt bad because there was some times where it's like we didn't do anything, and I was like, man, I just wasted my weekend, you know. And she's an introverted person, so she was like fine. Yeah. She was like, man, why is it a waste? Like we're just hanging out and stuff like that. We don't always have to do something all the time. But for me, I'm just like I want to go out there and stuff like that, you know. But anyways, to go back to kind of like the story of reaching out to other people and not getting some stuff back, the rejection was kind of like lame, and it is hard and stuff like that. But again, like I said, I knew the consequence is like that if I don't continue to hit people up and I don't continue to try to like talk to people and have social connections, then I'm just gonna be by myself. You know what I mean? And that's worse than, for me, that's worse than being rejected. Like being by myself and not reaching out and getting no's is that's a better situation. Or reaching out to other people and getting rejected is a better situation because I know that I'm trying
than just giving up.
Than just like being by myself all weekend, you know? So there is kind of, going back to what you're talking about, there is kind of like, I guess, a goal that is set on me to kind of like, that pushes me to have more social interaction. So I think that's pretty, it's a good point for people that are like more introverted, that want to be more extroverted, is to kind of like put a goal in front of you, or like something that you want to accomplish, or something that you want to get out of it. Because like if you try to jump into social interactions, you know, and you're not an extroverted person, and there's no stakes, there's no goal, there's no weight to the situation, then it's like, why am I even doing this? There's no point.
I think if you're an introvert, it really has to be either a conscious decision where like, okay, I'm gonna try to do it and make a goal out of it, like I did in college, with the VSA, or other situations, like if you're at work, I mean, and you're forced to be put into that, even better, right? Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny to hear your perspective versus, you know, someone in my shoes, right? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and social connections, and I think, like, we are social creatures, like, human beings are social creatures. We're created to be around other people, even if you're an introvert, you know? Like, you can't be by yourself your entire life. Like, it's just not healthy for your brain to, like, live that way, you know? And I think some people that are, like, hyper introverted kind of, like, tell themselves that they don't need to, you know? But it's...
They're weird. Just kidding.
It's like if you relate it to, like, let's just say the gym. Yeah. Like, you don't have to go to the gym to be alive. Yeah. You don't have to go to the gym to be okay, but it's healthier for you. It's better for you. And in the same way, social connections are the same thing. You don't have to have social connections to live, you know, but it's healthy for your brain. You know, it's better to learn. Again, going back to, like, the purpose of this podcast is kind of like showing people that the people that you talk to and the people that you're around, you know, can benefit you. Not that everything is for your benefit, but other people can benefit you in the same way that you can benefit other people. You know what I mean?
I think that's the mentality. That's funny. I actually had that mentality before growing up, like towards my later years in high school and early college. Was that, I mean, I'm not going to talk to people unless it benefits me. Yeah. Which is very selfish. That's very, very selfish.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people subconsciously feel that way too.
Yeah, like, why would I make the effort to, you know, make new friends or whatever? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was just very dogmatic in my being closed off. Yeah. Probably. But that, I mean, it's, if you think about it, it is a reality for, at least for myself, and I'm sure a bunch of other people too. Yeah. That's funny.
Okay, so talking about being introverted and extroverted, again, I'm just going to keep going back to that because from your description of yourself and from what I know you to be too, like early in your life, introverted is a tag that I would stick on you. Yeah. Because I know you, but I feel like if a lot of people meet you and see you and stuff like that, like a lot of the stuff that you do is extroverted. So going to the gym and like getting clients and stuff like that, being a leader in different areas of your life, and then transitioning to the next kind of like topic, like fashion, and you're interested in fashion and posting on Instagram and stuff like that.
Go ahead and flash my Instagram here, jjaevii.
You want to spell that out?
jjaevii.
Yes, on Instagram.
Just flash it on the screen right here. It'll be right there.
I probably won't do that. I don't know if I can do that yet. Okay. But we spelled it out so you can look it up. So yeah, that's kind of like an interesting part of you and your story, because I know that you're super interested in fashion, but your fashion sense and you posting on Instagram, and I know that you had this kind of like stint in your life where like social media was huge and you were very, very involved in that. It's very introverted.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to talk about like how you got into that.
Yeah. So I think with fashion, I think even though it's like an outward expression where everyone sees it, it's still very individualistic. At least, I mean, there's different levels of fashion, right? In terms of what's trending, what's popular, you want to fit in with the crowd, right? That's one thing. But like actually getting into, I don't want to sound like elitist or anything, but like when you get a little bit deeper into fashion, it really has to be an individualistic thing. Besides you looking at what are the trends, how do I look like everyone, I want to be cool, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing, things like that. Right? So for me, I've always been interested in fashion growing up. That might have been due to maybe my different friend groups I had growing up. I had people who were like, and music too, like even people who were more into hip hop, people who were into rock. I listened to all of that. And of course, in those genres, there's different fashion too, right? So growing up, I always had that whole different, like I had a lot of genres put into my head. And then from that too, like even at a young age, I know for a fact that I was very individualistic. So growing up, you know, getting deeper into fashion, and then when I started working and having money, right, where I could buy more of my own stuff that I actually wanted, you know, for me, I think it might be corny to say, and for some to hear, but if you're in the space, you know, like it's art to me, it's art. Yeah. Because you put things together like art. And so when I was like getting into that, the thing that sucked about it's so individual, and no one around me was into that at all, in the same way that I was, right? Yeah, people weren't trends or whatever, but no one was into the fashion space that I was into, like knowing different brands, knowing different styles, things like that. That wasn't a topic that was talked about. Yeah. So, and I went to a private school too, so I mean, there was no uniform, but I don't know if that affected it. So that's where I really was. And then during the pandemic, it kind of blew up a lot for everyone on social media, because people now had time to take pictures of their fits, not just for fashion. I mean, every social media genre that kind of blew up at that time, but for the fashion space specifically, it blew up a lot because people had more time. And then what you were finding was a very, very niche group who I think some might even consider a lot of them were introverted. Now we're meeting other people. Like, it's like introverts meeting other introverts. Like going back to VSA, like that group in college, it's the same thing. It was like introverts meeting introverts. And that's kind of cool when you've never had that before. And even better yet, you didn't have to physically go out and meet them. You know what I mean? It could just be all online. Yeah. So for me, I started posting, 2020 basically. And from there, the reason I wanted to do it was just to meet a few other people who were into the same interests that I was. And kind of, I've never had that in person. There was literally no one around me who did that. I just never expected it to blow up the way it did at the beginning.
Why would you, sorry to cut you off, why would you think, or why do you think that it took off the way that it did for you?
I don't know. I luck, of course, but I think in everything I get into, I do research before I go into it. So before I even posted, I was just following people. I wanted to see what they were doing, right? The people that I liked specifically, like, okay, what are their backgrounds? What is the kind of genre that they're doing? Are they tagging people? Right? What accounts are they tagging?
So are you saying when you look up what they're doing, is it more of like the content creation side, like how they created their posts and how frequently they created posts? Or were you saying you looked at what they're doing more of like their fashion sense? Like
both, more so fashion. Mm-hmm. I would definitely at the beginning, if you go back to my beginning posts, I don't know if you could consider it trendy because not everyone was wearing that. Like if you go out in the general public, like you would only see one person wearing that. Yeah. But on social media, that's kind of what was popular, right? Yeah. And then eventually it became like everyone was doing it, right? Like especially with TikTok. At the time it was like workwear, dunks. earth tone, which still kind of is for a lot of people, right? Which is fine. It's a good combo.
Pretty's the staple right now,
but
too, still.
I think what made me stand out compared to other people, because a lot of people did it, right? But not a lot of people, blew up kind of the same way. Yeah. Also learning the content creation side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, kind of hack the algorithm.
And hack the algorithm. And like I said, that wasn't really, my intention was to never get big. It was just to do what I thought was the best quality at the time, right? Because even that's for myself, I still want it to be high quality. And I think for me, going again, as an introvert, you really look into details. You really look at the finer details of things, whether it's art, poetry, music, whatever. So I applied that there too. And I think, that's what some of my posts, like, they blew up the way it did. I gained a lot of traction at the time. And I got to meet a lot of cool people from that. A lot of people, who were into the space that I was in. Even to this day, I talk to so many of them still. Yeah. And I'm rarely as frequent on Instagram anymore at all. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's definitely cool. Again, goes back to like your whole introverted thing. Like it's very an outward expression of who you are on the inside and stuff, and being able to connect with people through that. I think is very valuable. And I think going back to our topic of like putting yourself out there, I think people sometimes forget the power or the value of like networking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like being able to connect with other people about similar interests, or not even similar interests, just being able to connect to a person because you enjoy being around that person, or you enjoy the way that, your conversation flows and stuff, and then being able to give value to them and vice versa based on that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. So what would you say, like, I guess what would you say so talking about fashion and like what you've done, I don't want to say through like your fashion career or whatever, but like through posting and being big on Instagram, what would you say is kind of like, actually, let me scrap that question and then let me bring back like the gym and stuff like that. So you've been into the gym, you got really big into doing that, and then in fashion and stuff like that. So out of a lot of the things that you have gotten into and gotten big in, what do you think is something that you want to really take the next step in and I guess become more proficient in whatever skill that is? So for example, like, do you want to continue to pursue your path in strength training and be a better trainer and get more clients and build your own business there? Or do you want to get into fashion and I don't know, do something there and stuff? But
I guess if I were to go to the gym and fashion, my two different goals would be, if it was the gym, it just to be get stronger in powerlifting. But I think for now, I already did powerlifting, right? Yeah. I mean, I could definitely get a lot stronger, but that's on the back burner, definitely, because powerlifting is a whole nother thing as a hobby where it's very time consuming. It's a lot of dedication. I know what it's like. You have injuries too that come and go, aches and pains. So for now, that's on the back burner. My goal in the gym right now is just to, just get better at what I'm doing, but I'm not hyper focused on like a competition, right? Yeah. Fashion is a little bit different.
You did compete though.
I did compete. I competed. My last one was it last year? Last August, I believe. Or July, whatever. Yeah. Yes. Ever since then, I've kind of tapered down. I haven't been powerlifting as much. But with fashion, my goals are definitely a little bit more. Not necessarily in social media, but in creating a brand, right? And that was something that was on my head. I mean, I talked to you about this too, right? Where I do want to create a brand, not for the clout, not because, I want to get big on social media or whatever. I want to create something because that's what I'm passionate and that's what I want to do. Because I know what I want. Yeah. Right? I'm not doing it for other people. I really want to do it for myself mainly because I want to wear what I want to wear. But if it's not available, then you gotta just make it. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I think my goals there are a lot bigger, and that's where I would see myself going further. Maybe not on my personal Instagram page anymore, but in that, sure. Definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. So, okay, we'll get back to the fashion. I kind of want to jump backwards and maybe talk a little bit about how competing was for you. So you competed in powerlifting competitions, and I know that you and a few of our friends were taking part in that a lot and stuff. So a little bit about how that was for you, but also about like what that did for you and your character development, like how that was to to be very disciplined in training and all that stuff.
So the first thing, if you've never been to the gym and you've never, or I'll take it back, if you haven't been disciplined in the gym for half a year, or a year consistently, you do not know the effects that it has on your mental health and your psyche, right? For sure. Because, I mean, if you haven't been in there long enough, you will not know the changes that happen besides physically, right? For me, the biggest changes besides physically it was all mental, and also mental, not just inwardly, but outwardly, because how people treated you differently too, right? And that, of course, when they treat you better, it affects your mental health too, right? So that is the biggest thing that people underestimate. It's not just how, your health is top priority, your physical health is your top priority, how you feel, how you move, how you fit into clothes, whatever. But what it does for your mental is, I think, far more invaluable, because that makes you disciplined in other areas of life too.
Yeah. So you're mainly, when you talk about benefiting your mental health, how the gym benefits your mental health, you're more talking about the building of discipline.
I mean, two ways. Building of discipline, but also building of confidence. Confidence is a huge thing, especially when you see yourself like, I'll talk about confidence first, and we can talk about discipline after, but with confidence too, like if you go from the very beginning, like if you're only lifting the barbell, right? Or whatever, if it's like 10 pounds on the barbell, and you go eventually in a year, you look back and you're already doing like 135 pounds versus 45 pounds, right? That's huge. What that does for your confidence is crazy. And that's why, even going back to when I was working as a personal trainer in the gym, those rejections, they maybe didn't hurt me as much as it would have if I wasn't in the gym working out years before that. You know what I mean? Because I also built up confidence in myself, knowing that I know what I can do, I know who I am, I know what I'm capable of. So even though, the rejections hurt and I would still get depressed, I can't imagine how much more it would have hurt. And I would have been turned off right away if I wasn't into that. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I do know people who are like that at the gym that were personal trainers who were very book smart. They went to school for kinesiology, whatever, but they didn't really spend a lot of time in the gym, right? It's weird. You'd think that, like, you'd expect every personal trainer to be, fit, in shape, buff. No, there were some personal trainers who were, I mean, not to be mean, they were obese. They were way out of shape. They didn't really work out at all, but they were way smarter than anyone. They're way smarter than me.
They knew how the body functions.
They knew how the body functions, and the thing is, of course, if you go up to someone and you don't look like you work out as a personal trainer, they're going to reject you. All those people, they left so quick. They stayed for only like 2-3 months at most, because they couldn't handle, in my opinion, like I said, working out gives you self-confidence too, right? So that's one thing. Self-confidence is huge, especially if you're someone who's coming from a more introverted background. If you're extroverted, it just amplifies it way more, you know what I mean? But that is the one aspect of mental. And then there's the discipline too, right? Where, I mean, in terms of discipline, I had a goal of powerlifting. So with powerlifting and bodybuilding, it's a little bit different, right? Bodybuilding, you're looking to get bigger, you're looking to get more aesthetic. Powerlifting, you're only looking to get stronger. So for me, I was disciplined in the progress of not my body, but the weights going up. Right? So when you're training for a powerlifting competition, man, it's tough. Like, you'll train anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks as prep, in terms of prep, but you're always training before that, right? In terms of programming. And you're in there 4 to 5 days typically, and your sessions can be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes longer if you're just hanging out with a bunch of friends and just talking in between sets.
2 to 3 hours is insane.
No, dude, and it would have to be, because you're lifting so heavy, you're doing so much volume that
you need a break.
You need to, like the meme about powerlifters, how like they take like 10 hours like between a set and they'll take a nap or whatever. Like sometimes you have to, like, if you just squatted like close to your 1 rep max for like 4 or 5 reps, and you have to do 3 more back off sets, and then you have to do squats after that or deadlifts after that, dude, it's so freaking tiring. It's crazy. So you have to do that. It's like 2 to 3 hours just to get through it, unless you're like superhuman and you can get through everything really quick, which I've never seen. Maybe one person out of like 100. But yeah, it's a lot of discipline, and then leading up to the competition, and especially if you're trying to lose a little bit of weight too, there's a lot that goes into it. But the whole point of the discipline is that, again, if you have an end goal in mind, the discipline is easier, I think, versus if you kind of just want to do something like, and you're not fully committed to it, it's very easy to not be disciplined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could go off, because if you're not fully committed to it and you miss a day or two, you don't want to train as heavy or whatever, you're like, okay, then it's fine. I mean, I'll still get there.
Yeah.
But what are your results going to be? Are you even going to get there? Or if you get at the competition, it's garbage, you know? You don't make weight. Mm-hmm. You don't, you're not going to lift what you thought you were going to lift, whatever. So, yeah, discipline is huge.
Yeah.
Again, if it's bodybuilding, it's even more discipline, I think, with especially eating and diet. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are very two, like, important things to talk about when it comes to the gym, because I feel like a lot of people that don't go to the gym kind of have this like outward view of the gym of like people that are really just trying to do it to look good for everybody else and are trying to like show off, and it's just like like meatheads or whatever.
Yeah, no, even for me growing up, that's literally what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's until you get into the gym and you realize what it is doing for you mentally and for your confidence and you know how it can affect other areas of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that should be like a mandatory thing for everyone, in my opinion, because really, if everyone went to the gym, we'd be a lot more productive and a lot, I feel like, happier of a society. Yeah. Because even a lot of depression is linked with,
for sure,
with your physical health, right? Yeah. So, I mean, everything like physical health, like a lot of the issues that we have is going back to physical health because, especially in America nowadays, right? You know, you see what we eat, you see what we do. Like, you know, we're very just focused on technology, whatever, desk jobs. So
yeah. So if somebody doesn't go to the gym and they want to go to the gym, but they're having a difficult time, or let's just say, you know, go into your work mode and somebody comes up to you, it's like, hey, like I wanted to start working out, but I don't really know what to do. Like I've never really been to the gym before. Like it's even hard to be in here. Like what would be some advice that you would give them?
I'll clarify. Like even when I say the gym, it doesn't have to be the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
You can start off at home. You can start off in your neighborhood. You
don't even need weights.
You don't need weights at all. I mean, it's really just getting started is the biggest thing, right? Whether if you haven't done any form of cardio before, like go on a walk in your neighborhood, go on a jog, go on a run. If you're at home, you could do push-ups. You could buy a pull-up bar for $10. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you can do if you're too afraid to get started in a gym. Because I know a lot of people, even for myself, the reason why I didn't want to go into a gym was because, I didn't know what to do. I felt intimidated. I felt like everyone was going to look at me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people are going to think I'm weak. People are going to think I'm dumb because I'm not doing something properly.
Yeah.
What did help, though, was that I went with a partner or had someone take me along with them who was kind of in there before, right? So that if you can find a friend to go with you, I mean, that makes it a lot easier. Yeah. But honestly, if you go into the gym and you've never been before and that's your worry about other people looking at you, you don't know what you're doing, I guarantee you no one cares about you. Yeah. Everyone is too self-absorbed in themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they only want to look at themselves. They don't really care what you're doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a big misconception. I know people will say that all the time. People won't really listen or believe it until they see it themselves in the gym, right? So biggest thing I can suggest if you want to get into the gym is at least start off something at home. Yeah. Right? And then when you feel confident to go to a gym, try to bring a friend with you. And if not, watch videos online. YouTube is the biggest resource you could find anywhere. And you could do
anything on YouTube.
And you don't have to be in there 2-3 hours like I was. You can be in and out in 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's my goal. When I go to the gym, I really just want to be in and out in 45 minutes.
Yeah, and then
if I can,
exactly. And not everyone wants to be a bodybuilder. Not everyone wants to be a powerlifter. If you just want to be healthy, right? That's all you need. Yeah. You don't need to lift heavy weights. You don't need to drink jugs of protein or whatever, right? If you're just trying to go for your health, that's fine as long as you're consistent at it, right? Even 2 times a week. If you were to go to the gym 2 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes, if you add that up over 1 year and you look back, that difference is staggering. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I really like a lot of the topics that we're talking about. I want to touch on first your advice. I think that's really good advice of just get started because I think that applies literally in everything in your life. Yeah. I'm trying to think if it was a story Yeah, it was. So there's a story. I think I read it in Atomic Habits, James Clear.
Oh, yeah.
Very good book. Very on what we're talking about basically building good habits, breaking bad habits. I think it's a very, very common book for like self-help books.
Yeah.
Very good starter book. Anyways, I think there's a story in there. I think it's in there of a guy who wanted to go to the gym and basically building. I like the phrase of mastering the art of showing up.
Yeah.
That's basically what you want to kind of build. The gym helps you do that. I mean, anything helps you do that, but just mastering the art of showing up. So the story, I think, is of this guy who wants to go to the gym and he wants to build a habit of going to the gym. So what he did, I don't know if it was every day, but on his whatever schedule that he built, 3 times a week or whatever, every day, blah, 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 he would go to the gym for 5 minutes and then do whatever he wanted to do in 5 minutes and then go home.
What the heck?
And that's it. Like, then he would just go 5 minutes, go home. And it sounds dumb because like, oh, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your gas, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think being able to scale it down and then tell your brain, like, going to the gym is not a difficult thing, because I think for a lot of people, that's the hardest part to go to the gym, is like getting yourself to get up out of whatever you're doing and go physically drive to the gym, change whatever, blah, blah. That's the difficult part, I think. And then once you're there, like if somebody can pick you up, you know, dressed and whatever, and then just place you in the gym, everybody would work out. You know what I mean? Because I'm already there, you know? I'm already there. I might as well just, you know, I know it's good for myself, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So if you're able to master the art of showing up, if you're able to master changing and getting to the gym or whatever, blah, 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 then doing the rest of the stuff is way easier.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, yes, you might not be great in the beginning, but the consistency of, transitioning to what you're talking about, if you just go 30 minutes twice a week consistently for like, you know, however long, it's the compound effect of like getting better by 1%, 1%. Then you look back on, you know, a year like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was doing that a year ago. So going full circle and then going back to like what we talked about too, of like having that be a confidence builder of like seeing what you're able to accomplish, seeing what you're able to do when you push yourself, I think will make you more excited and more proud of yourself to do other things that you want to do in your life. So I think the gym is a very good catalyst to do a lot of other things. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's like, if I could make it mandatory, if I was president, I would make it mandatory, even for 20, 30 minutes. Like, PE is a thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's PE, right?
Vote for Josh for president, and everyone will have to go to the gym.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So that was the gym, powerlifting and stuff, fashion, you want to build a brand and stuff. That's really cool. Let's see. What else do we have here? Let's look. That's a good question. So, I guess my next question, so we talked about what you did. You competed in powerlifting. You blew up on social media and stuff. So I guess the next question is, again, kind of like touching up on that stuff. So what are some things that you are proud to accomplished in your past and stuff like that? And then what are some things that you would like to accomplish in the future, some goals that you have placed on yourself for the near future and stuff?
In terms of what I've already accomplished, that's kind of weird talking about that, just because I feel like
it seems kind of like gloaty and boasty and stuff like that. But I think part of the purpose of this question is really to show that, you know, like you're a childhood friend of mine and stuff like that. Like we grew up together, so we're in a very, very similar environment. We grew up in the same place, around the same people, you know, so there's very little difference. I mean, of course there's differences, you know, but basically just to show like what, I mean, normal people are capable of, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people sometimes see famous people or people on social media and it's like, oh, they got lucky or they their rich dad gave them money to do this and stuff like that. But just to be able to see what people can accomplish and hopefully, you know, people take it as an inspiration as opposed to like seeing somebody talk about this and also again like getting jealous or getting like, oh, you just showboating, blah blah blah. And
I think it's kind of already what I've talked about, especially like, and this is not because of the accolade that like comes along with it, but because of where I came from, where being one of the top personal trainers in terms of sales and development within my first year out of the region, over 500 plus trainers. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that, I'm very proud of that, is because where I came from as an introvert, right, where I went into a whole field where you have to be extroverted. I went into that the first couple of months where I was getting rejected constantly. And then eventually I that's where I got to, right? And I wasn't ever good at sales, I don't think, right? I just knew how to explain things properly, but I was never like, I saw other people who were doing a lot better than me at the beginning, where they were like very like sleazy, quote unquote, where they would do anything to get a sale, where I refused to do that. Mm-hmm. Even though I could have made clients, I could have made more money, but I never did that. So I just wanted to be very genuine and honest. So I think that accolade of like the top, like it's 24 Hour Fitness, so we were considered one of the top 24 in the region. That for me is one of my biggest ones, just from the whole journey to get there and where I came from as an individual. And then in terms of social media, I mean, I guess I'm proud that I was consistent with it at the very beginning. I met a lot of friends that I did meet are really, really cool. And now I know if I travel to a lot of places in the world, I have a place to stay, which is pretty cool. But beyond that, I think this was kind of corny. I benched 315 twice. I benched 315 twice, which I never thought I would ever do in a million years. Yeah. That's a pretty big one. And then outside of what we've already talked about, things I'm proudest about are, I like interior design. I'm pretty proud. You've seen it. Yeah. The house that I helped out, Kiana and Shane and Jeremy, and the whole living room. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Bought everything off Facebook Marketplace. Did I show you how I came up with that layout?
Yeah, you like drew all the things in
literally in notes, and I did it with color too.
The drawing app. Yeah. I know, it was actually because you talked about how you used to draw stuff. It was actually a really pretty good detailed sketch.
Yeah, and I'm happy that it came out as accurate as it did.
Yeah.
Kind of what my vision was, and kind of bringing that vision to reality.
Yeah.
That one was it's very underrated for me, I think, because I literally drew it in notes. And again, if you could flash the notes, let me see. But no, I was kidding. But that was really cool. But I mean, I don't know, man. Because I don't really think about, other than those things, I don't really think about the stuff I've done in the past. Yeah. But I can,
Yeah, again, I just want to retouch on that, because I know for you and for a lot of people, it can be, some people find it difficult to talk about what they've done in the past and forget to look at what they've accomplished in the past. Yeah. And I think it's important. Again, not to showboat or not to show off or
they're milestones.
Yeah, right? It's milestones. It's, again, going back to what we talked about in the gym, just being able to see what you've accomplished and having that be a reminder to yourself of I did that, and then using those facts of what you've accomplished in the past to kind of remind you of what you can do in the future, and to
yeah, for sure.
To remind you of what you can do in the future and what you're capable of, and to not be scared to take risks. I think, we talked about this, especially for people our age, but it's not even just people around our age. I think with a good amount of risk management, of course, I'm not telling people who are 50 years old, who have a whole family, put all your money. I'm not telling everybody that not everybody can take a large amount of risk, but I think on the flip side of that coin, not enough people are taking enough risk. You know what I mean? And I think it's important, not because, everyone should gamble, but because...
people like being comfortable. It's comfortable to be where you are.
Yeah.
If you're already used to something, why would you change it if it's already working?
Yeah.
But I think the reason why a lot of people don't take a risk in whatever they want to do, whether it's an interest, whether it's a hobby, is just because, it's that first step. Showing up, taking the first step into it and trying to be consistent and disciplined with it, that'll do so much. It's really, it's not, I don't think it's risk taking, not gambling, but it's just breaking out of the comfortability zone. Right?
Yeah, it's betting on yourself.
Yeah.
I think not enough people bet on themselves. Not a lot of people like believe that they can do something great or do something.
No, yeah, that's actually true because like thinking about it, going back to what you said, like you typically only see that on social media with like people who are like famous or like influencers or whatever, where they're doing all this stuff, and it feels like so far distance out that it doesn't really apply to you. And yeah, thinking about that, like again, I'm a different case where maybe I see that a little bit more often with people that I do know personally, but for the average person, even thinking about myself a couple years ago, I would have never thought any of those things, right? And I think it's just kind of the way that we're brought up too, where we're not really, not to say we're not brought up to think about it, but it's just harder to think about you accomplishing something great or outside of the box, right? And great is relative.
Yeah,
great,
it's very relative. Like,
I mean?
for example, like, you know, you were saying like, oh, I benched 315, you're proud of doing that and stuff like that.
Yeah, relatively for me,
yeah.
that's like, I could, when I first went to the gym, I didn't even bench the bar. I remember that. Like, I did, and it was like all over the place like this. That's with my friend who first brought me to the gym, and then going back to where I am now. Like, you know, probably 99% of the human population has never benched 315. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, that's what you said, you know, like, like relative is, or great is relative, you know what I mean? Like, great doesn't always mean X amount of followers or X amount of money or, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, great can be a lot smaller scale than you give yourself that, or like, that you set the bar to, you know what I mean? So, again, to just wrap that whole thing up of, like, talking about what you've accomplished, the purpose is not to like, fluff yourself up. It's for other people to see that somebody like you and me, somebody that's not, you know, super famous or whatever, can accomplish greatness. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, again, a lot of people look at famous people or very accomplished people. I was watching this podcast the other day of Jocko Willink. I don't know if a lot of people know about Jocko. He's like a ex-Navy SEAL and stuff like that.
That's what he looks like, right?
He's like he's ex-Navy SEAL, like motivational speaker and stuff like that. And yes, he is a like beast of a human being. He's like, a different. Like he's built different, you know. But at the same time, if you really think about it, right? If you really think about it, he's just a normal guy.
Yeah.
He's just a normal guy who pushed himself really hard, who set himself to a normal set of, or like a higher set of standards, and met those standards, and you know, proceeded to move beyond that. So if you really think about it, famous people are just like us, you know. And it sounds corny and stuff, but again, don't think that you can't accomplish something because you think that famous people or whatever, they're like, oh, they got lucky or whatever. Like do more than you think you can do. Push yourself, you know, like see what you can accomplish, take those risks and stuff, and you will probably be surprised. Yeah.
That's why you should go to the gym.
Yes, go to the gym, because that's a very good catalyst to surprise yourself and see what you can accomplish, you know. Exactly. Okay, so we talked about stuff that you've done and stuff. I wanted to kind of get a little bit more personal. So those are your, you know, accolades and stuff that you've done, and you have accomplished a lot of things in your life, and you've, you know, done a lot of things. So I want to ask, what, I don't know if inspiration is the right word. Like, what is your inspiration, or what is your influence, or like what pushes you to go out and accomplish those things? You know, like what is there, like a person, or is there like I don't know.
Like the things that I did in the past, or the things that I want to do?
Both.
I mean, I still think it's very, like I said, growing up, it's all still been individualistic. It's all been for myself, which is, I guess, both bad and good, right? So I'm not relying on other people to look at me differently. I guess, well, I mean, you know, with me getting married, it's a little bit different soon, where now I'm not just thinking of myself, I'm thinking about my partner as well. But even then, all my goals are still individualistic. And the thing that's kind of pushing me towards that is, I think once you open up your mind to think out of the box in one area, right, and push hard in one area, it kind of opens up the floodgates for different areas of what you want to accomplish and what you want to do.
For sure.
Right? So, it's so corny to like, you know, I hate saying corny as crap, I guess, but you know, it's like that one quote, I don't want to be mediocre. When people say like, I don't want to be mediocre in anything, right?
Yeah.
Or like just live a mediocre life, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with just living the whatever lifestyle that kind of society has played out, you know. But for me, I think I've always wanted to push a little bit outside of the box in at least one or a couple areas of my life and what I wanted to do. And that's only because of myself opening up that first gate and then seeing other things that I can accomplish. But also things like this, like listening to podcasts, looking at regular people who might have been regular, but then they accomplished things that were a little bit greater. You know what I mean? So like for me, I like following stories of people who I could see where they clearly came from, like where they were really down. Like for me, in terms of finance, right? When I got into finance at the very beginning, I was only following people who I knew their story of where they came up from nothing, basically, right? Where they work hard at it. Versus, I don't want to listen to someone who came from money already.
Yeah.
That's what motivates me. I think was that your question?
Yeah.
I forgot what your question was, but I think it was something along
the lines of like what has kind of pushed you to do the things that you.
Yeah, it's seeing stories of people who are average and mediocre, and then they kind of push, you know, past whatever they're trying to push past.
Yeah.
And then they achieve that relative greatness, right? So if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Yeah, that's kind of like a mindset that I've put myself through too, of like seeing people that have accomplished things, and that again, like seeing people that are a little bit closer, right? So I'm just going to use you as an example for you, and like looking at the things that you've done, you know, I think about that, and then sometimes like I think about like, you know, like yeah, we're in the same space, but like no offense, not that this is a bad thing, but it's more so like to build myself up than to like, you know, but it's like, yeah, if you can do it, I can do it, but I feel like that wording is super played out to the point where like people don't see the power in it. For me, what I tell myself is like, you're not any more special than I am. like sure, again, not to like tear other people down, but more to build myself up and to remind myself like you're not any better than I am. Like the only reason you may be better is because you push yourself harder, but that doesn't mean that I can't push myself harder. Like you accomplished, again, not telling you anymore, just in general, like people have accomplished things because they've worked harder, because they've done more. So I look at that and point to myself and like, why am I not doing that? I should push harder. I should work more, because they, other than the people that were like born from money, there are plenty of people who have reached a crazy amount of success and accomplished a lot of greatness that came from less than me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So if they can accomplish it, they're not any better than I am. They just maybe work harder or did more research, but it's not anything that I can accomplish. So it's just, again, betting on myself and knowing that like I can accomplish XYZ if I just, you know, try hard enough or work hard enough and stuff. Yeah.
So I think about like some musicians that I look up to. Like some people will say like, oh, they're already like they're musically gifted, whatever. That's like, or even athletes. Yeah. No. Sorry. There you go. Athletes, right? Oh, they're genetically gifted, whatever. All of those things. But people don't look at how many hours they've put in. They don't look at all the practice they've put in. Like, you know, how much more have they practiced? How much more have they trained compared to the average person? Yeah. Genetics, maybe some, you know, other factors might come into play. But really, no one looks at the discipline really behind it. They just chalk it up to those things, right? Yeah. Or they got lucky. I mean, this guy, he started a business and he got lucky and then it blew up. Yeah. Do you see how much hours and effort he put into it behind it? Do you see, you know, how much money he had to invest? How much money he probably lost beforehand? How many did he open other businesses beforehand that never worked out? Things like that, right? Yeah. People don't really look at that. They just look at the good part, the end part, right? Yeah. I think that's where, people don't really think, you know, I can do it myself, because they don't see all the failure, all the hurt and all the other stuff beforehand. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, people have come from way worse situations than us and have been through way more worse situations in that process. So, I mean, if they can do it, then, you know, I think
I mean, definitely people have been through difficult situations, but, you know, I think sometimes we forget, like, that we're also blessed, you know, like, not just us, but, like, a lot of people forget to look at their life and be like, oh, like, forget to appreciate the little things, like, oh, I'm breathing, I may have, like, a roof over my head, and you know, and use that to kind of remind themselves that, like, oh, I'm, like, in a better place than I give myself credit for, so... And talking about relative greatness and stuff like that, I think for me, what's been a big thing in my life is also realizing that greatness is relative, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the greatness in my life that I want to achieve is basically just being able to do something that I love, being able to find that passion project. That's kind of like what I've been searching for lately, and like. And some people, you know, for I don't know, for people like us, it might seem difficult to think, but like some people find passion and find joy and find comfort in going to their 9 to 5, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like, and I think our culture and our society and our generation has kind of like shamed 9 to 5s and have been like crapping them, like, oh, you don't need to do that. If you work 9 to 5, you're throwing your life away.
Oh,
and
you
stuff
should
like
be.
that.
You should become an influencer.
Yeah, like, oh, if you're not, you know, if you're not making your money work for you, you're like blah blah. But it's not. The world isn't as you know, black and white as that. You know what I mean? Yes, there are a lot of opportunities to make more money, but I think the main thing is
money is a relative factor for some people.
Yeah,
right.
Doing what you love, again, it's so corny, but doing what you love is super important, and I think everybody should search for that. Like, it might not be their career, but to have maybe a hobby or something is very important to your mental health and being able to live a long, happy life. It's super corny, this stuff that I'm talking about now, but
no, yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true though. Like, I'm sure when we're talking about relative greatness, going back to it, right? If you look at the average teacher in America who works whatever their hours are, right, and how much money they make relatively, sure, some might look at the money and be like, that's not greatness.
Yeah.
But if you talk to the teacher, I've helped raise how many kids.
Yeah.
I've taught how many kids. I've impacted this many people. That is relatively, that's pretty great. I think even by any standard, that's great. Right? I think just that nowadays, like, money is a main metric people look at just because of social media.
Yeah, right? I think that's a really, really good example. Like, if you, like, let's just say in a hypothetical world, right, you take one person who's like a CEO of a company, has millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. But, like, you see the way that, like, he lives his life, like, maybe he is unhappy, like, just goes out, parties all the time, drinks, is not really happy. Like, the way that he got to that position was by, like, being, like, sleazy and moving around and stuff like that. And like, on paper, you're like, oh, he's achieved greatness because he has all this money and he does all this stuff, you know? But then you go back to the example of the teacher who, you know, makes probably way less money than that, but has had a beneficial impact on the lives of, like, so many kids. Like, again, you look at that and it's like, who really is great, you know what I mean? So I think...
And then some people will still say the CEO. That's why it's relative, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Some people will. But yeah, I think it's really just important to find out what you would want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think... Or did you have something?
No.
Okay, so to move on to the next question. I know we already talked about this. We talked about this in a conversation we had a while back, but I really like your answer. I want you to give this answer to other people. So the question is, if you had no money... I mean, not if you had no money. If money was not an issue and societal pressures were not an issue, but you had to work, if you had to have a job... but you didn't have to worry about how much money you made, or you didn't have to worry about other people telling you, like, oh, you shouldn't do that. What would be that job? I mean, if you have another answer, you can give another answer.
No, I mean, I think that's the only answer I could think of. My answer would be I would want to own and run a cat cafe. Right? It's yeah, I mean, it seems maybe dumb, but I think I would find a lot of peace in it. I love coffee. You know that. Like, I love doing all that, but I also love cats. I guess cats are kind of reflected as like an introvert animal, whatever. But I would run a cat cafe because I can't imagine myself going to that every day and not being tired of it. Yeah. I mean, especially having new people come in. Also, even putting together the cafe, putting together the aesthetic of it, the interior design of it, the layout, everything, advertising it. Like, I think even like owning the business of it is one part that I would enjoy and kind of just improving upon. But beyond that, just being in the cat cafe and it seems so peaceful. You know what I mean? Like, if money wasn't a factor, if anything was a factor, I don't care to be an adrenaline junkie in whatever job that I want. I just want to relax, and I think that's a good way for me to do that, but also still combine my interests and my passions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
I think
I don't know how many people would say that.
Yeah,
but
me either. Really,
but
you
for
might
me,
be one of the very few people in the
yeah, a cat cafe would be dope, man.
Yeah.
Like, imagine having a bunch of cats around you.
Yeah.
Right, that's so cool.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted you to share that answer is because, again, we've talked about all of the stuff that you've done in your life, and I think it's really cool to see how that would be your end goal. Like, it wouldn't be to become like, I know you like music, like, right, you like playing music and you like being a musician and stuff, but your end goal is like, oh, if I didn't have to worry about money, I would become a musician, or I'd become
not even related to fashion.
It's not related to anything that you've accomplished or anything that you've like worked hard. It's just cat cafe.
Yeah.
You know, but it's cool. And I really like asking people this question, because I think you can tell a lot about a person by their answer, because, you know, looking back at your story and what we talked about, like, you like being around cats and how cats kind of like reflect your own personality of individualistic when they need to be, but also, you know, social and you know, at the same time, but also you like the calm relaxedness of having a cafe and stuff like that. I think that answer really tells a lot of people, or tells me a lot about other people, and I think it's a really good question too, because
what I want to know is, what do you think other people would say? Like, I don't know what
what their answer would be.
What would
like,
their answer be? Like, what would you do?
If I, oh man, I think I answered.
Did you?
Did I answer this?
Did it have to do with like restaurant or food or anything? No.
I think it did. I think it did. I think the last time we talked about this, my answer was to open a really small restaurant that probably sat maybe about like 20 people max. Maybe like, not like omakase style to the point where it's like maybe 1 or 2 seatings throughout the night, but it's really like nice food, nice quality food, where like me as the chef or whatever can talk to the people that come in and actually build relationships. That would be.
We can talk about that next time. We can talk about food. Like,
I forgot. You're definitely like a foodie and stuff like that. But yeah, that was something that I could see myself doing. For me, I mean, I think we're very similar, and like I have a lot of passions, I have a lot of interests too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really difficult question. I don't know why. So I talked about this a little in my last episode about how I work as a cook and stuff like that, and I am really passionate about food. I think that is where my kind of confusion came about working in a restaurant. Is I'm very passionate about food and how food plays a role in our lives as kind of like bringing people together, like a history lesson, seeing the culture in food and science and stuff like that. Like, I'm very interested in that. I think being a cook and working in a restaurant is a little bit of a different story. Like, I asked one of my coworkers, like, if he can see himself cooking for the rest of his life, like, or like if he can see himself doing anything else than cooking, and he said no. And I found that really interesting, because as much as I love food, as much as I love eating, and as much as I love making food for other people,
you can't.
I don't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. Because it's a lot. It's a lot, not to get into all of that stuff. But I think for me personally, what I am really into and what really brings me joy is the social connection and talking about food, like bringing other people joy, being able to create something that other people can enjoy and take part in and find joy in that. You know, that was really the part of like why I really like food and why I really wanted to get good at cooking for people. Yeah. Because if I can get good at cooking for people, I can make food for people that makes them happy, that, you know, brings together, you know, all the emotions of like really good food. You know, that was really the part that gets me. So I really went off on a tangent, but I think if I didn't have to worry about money, it would have to be something about building relationships with people.
So this?
Maybe. maybe. But yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I really like interacting with people, and I am really an extroverted person who gains energy from like talking to people and stuff. So
that'd be cool.
yeah.
Run a podcast, man. Keep it going and then see what happens.
I'm trying.
No.
But is there anything else that you want to talk about? We can talk about food if you want.
Yeah, that's a whole...
I know, that would actually be a really long episode, because I know.
I mean, I'm... In terms of food, I'm more, like... Definitely more focused on, like, omakase and, like, that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I probably don't know tasting menus and, like, French cooking and whatever cooking as well as you do. I have knowledge of it, but, yeah, if you just want to talk about omakase, that's, like, really what I would talk about now.
Yeah.
With whatever time is left.
That'd be a really long episode.
that would be a long episode.
Probably having a few other people on for that too, talking about food. I think, again, I just really like the topic of food and like food in general, because everybody eats food, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and not a lot of people know or have like tried food that's like tasting menus and, you know, things like that, because it's seen as expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, why would I spend that much money on food, whatever.
Yeah.
But people don't realize it's a whole experience. Like, you will have things you've never had before in your life. It'll stick with you for years. Like, oh my gosh, that thing I ate was crazy. Like, people don't realize that's a thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
So, again, that's just something I would like to talk about, like, in the future. Like, how much, like, just trying out different things, man. Like, people can go to the same concert for the same artist like 10 times in a row and spend like $300 a ticket every single time. But they don't want to spend like $150 on a tasting menu for food, you know what I mean, or $200, whatever. And that could be a whole different life-changing experience too.
I mean, it's all relative, you know what I mean? Like, what you're willing to spend your money on, what you find joy in, you know. And I think
there's more to life than chicken nuggets.
Definitely, there's more to life than chicken nuggets. That should be a quote. You know, there's more to life than chicken nuggets.
this way to this way.
Not just about the food, but just talking about how, you know, there's kind of to go all philosophical and stuff like that about chicken nuggets. Like, chicken nuggets, I think... Go ahead. Let's do it. I think chicken nuggets are a very good analogy of life because it's very nostalgic and it's very, like, comfort food, and I don't really think there are a lot of people that would say chicken nuggets are bad, right?
That's
so
true.
People enjoy chicken nuggets, but there's more to life than just what we can see in front of us. There's more to life than what we know. There's more to life than what we're comfortable with. And we should be pushed to explore what's out there, you know, explore what we like and what we don't like. And again, to kind of bring this conversation full circle, you should try, like, take risks, see what you're able to accomplish, see what you're able to do and what you like and what you don't like, and kind of push yourself. I'm speaking from experience because I have spent a good part of my life kind of like being comfortable and stuff. So I think a lot of people can find joy in life when they try new things and stuff.
I think a lot of people realize that where they're like, okay, I've been comfortable my entire life and I want to try something new. And there's actually a phrase for that. It's called a midlife crisis.
It's like getting to the point of like, what have I done with my life?
Yeah, like you work for how many years, you already have your family, and then you're like, man, I never did any of the stuff that I wanted to do because I was just focused on this.
Yeah.
And then you'll go out and do whatever it is, right? So.
Yeah, and I think, and I do believe that it's never too late to have those experiences.
Yeah,
you know, we talked about how, we're not saying that like if you're, you know, really, really set, you have a family and stuff like that to like, oh, leave your family for like 3 months and go backpacking. That's not it. But you can have a similar life-changing experience on a smaller scale of just going out and trying something new. So I think it's very important to kind of take note of like where you've been in your life and what you want to do in the future, and even scale it down of like, I don't know, try surfing or
I mean, I think it's people need to get outside of the box a little bit.
Yeah.
And, there's so many different things you can do. There's so many different hobbies you can do. It just like, pick one that kind of piques your interest and just show up.
Yeah.
Show
Master
up.
the art of showing up. Just try it until you don't want to anymore.
Yeah. And then just that alone will make you better than how much percent of the population in that aspect just by showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I have one more question for you, unless you want to talk about if there's anything else in your mind that you would like to share with other people.
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, so my last question to wrap this this episode up, it's gonna be a recurring question for everybody that shows, because I really like the question, but it's, what is one thing in your life that has changed your life that you want to share for other people? So it could be like a habit that you do every morning, like a routine, or it can be a book that you read, a movie that you watched, a person that you know. So what is one thing that changed your life that you think can change someone else's?
That's a good question.
Super loaded, so don't worry about taking your time.
One thing that has changed my life. There's so many things.
It doesn't have to be like the main thing because I feel like that puts a lot of pressure, but just like something that you would want to share with someone. Like, yeah.
This whole podcast is just going to be a full circle
I know.
of literally talking about the exact same things over and over
True.
and over again. I think one of the things that changed my life is literally I don't even want to talk about it anymore. We've been talking about it.
Yeah.
Going to the gym, man. You don't have to be a meathead. Just show up and do something, and then track how your life changed. Because I think for me, that was my first measure of like progress and kind of really that I tracked for a long time, because I never played sports or anything growing up, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, that was my first measure of really tracking progress besides grades in school and whatever. But that is the one thing that has impacted a ton of areas of my life, right? So I think going to the gym, seeing what it does for your mental health, your physical health, what it does for your confidence, what it does for your discipline, and watch how that'll affect you so much better in everything else that you do, literally.
Yeah.
Right. Again, this whole conversation has just been a
Full circle, I know.
like the timestamps are just gonna be like
It's gonna be like gym, fashion, gym, fashion.
Yeah, people don't realize how important it is and what it really does for you. So that's the main thing that I would say has helped me out. Besides gym, if I were to give one more thing, it's to... No, it's just the gym.
It's just the gym. That's the only thing.
Literally it, dude. I don't...
No, that's good. I mean, I know that we talked about it.
And the one thing I like about it is that it's not something extravagant. It's so simple. And it's the one thing that's changed my life. It's not like I said, oh, go to a seminar, go to try this out, try that out, like will cost money or whatever, or things that are like so far out of left field. It's literally just that.
Yeah.
It's so simple, and it's changed my life the most. And I can speak for a fact, because I've also trained a lot of people. It has changed their life the most as well. Yeah. Of all ages, of people who are 14 all the way up to the oldest person I've trained was like 82.
Yeah. There'd be some really old people in the gym that I'm like, how are you still working out? And it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's changed all of their lives. Like, for a fact, I know that. So that is my main thing, Go to the gym.
Even if like just at least
work out.
Get some physical exercise.
Physical exercise. And then make sure that you're tracking progress. So not just aimlessly, but set mini goals, set a large goal, and set little mini goals before that. Watch your progress and see how your life will change right now.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah, that's really good. And I know a lot of people talk about the gym and it's like, whatever. But if you really break it down of why, it's beneficial to your life. It's literally jam-packed with so many things that you can gain from it, of like what we talked about, like confidence, discipline,
endorphins,
yeah,
like, what it does for, you know, your hormone and your body, literally what's going on inside that you have no idea what's happening.
Yeah,
right?
like if you that's something that I've kind of like looked into too. I follow this guy, Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's like a neuroscientist, or like he's an ophthalmologist, but he talks about how the brain works a lot, and he just knows about how the body functions all the time. And he talks a lot about what working out, like he has a lot of other scientists on his podcast and stuff like that, so you can definitely find out like what working out does for your brain and how that impacts your entire life, because it really does have like large benefits. So get some physical exercise. That's probably the biggest thing. Like even just like going out and taking a walk around the block, like even though that's not gonna like change your entire life.
It's a start. If it's something you haven't done before, physically, that's fine. That's it.
Go outside, take a walk, get some fresh air, go to the gym. Yeah, that's good.
That's it. And then you'll become a millionaire.
Yep, that's it. Step 1, gym. Step 2, you're rich.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think we really were able to talk a lot about what you've been through in your life and stuff, and got to see what, you know, I mean, yes, it's about you, but like how your life can be changed by just starting little things, by having discipline, putting yourself out there, trying new things. I think it's very, I don't want to say inspirational, but but I think it was a really good conversation. So I'm very glad to have had you on the second episode of the podcast. It's very fitting to have you, because again, this podcast was kind of formed for our conversation.
Yeah.
So,
and next time we'll deep dive into whatever niche topics you want to get to, like specifically, because I can deep dive all day. That's what I'm saying. It's funny, again, full circle for the bajillionth time, but it's funny how you say you're an introverted person, but you can talk for like hours and hours and hours. But yeah, cool. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of the Uncommons podcast. Catch our last episode. I think it was posted about a week ago with my girlfriend Daphne, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you so much for all the support. Love you guys. Bye. Bye.
Hey. That's cool.
Who keeps texting me?